Tonight at 7:19 p.m. Eastern, Senator Booker broke the record for the longest speech ever given by a United States senator. The previous record was set by arch segregationist Strom Thurmond, who tried to filibuster the Civil Rights Act in 1957. That speech lasted 24 hours and 18 minutes, but it included things like him reading from the encyclopedia and him taking a bathroom break. Senator Cory Booker did nothing like either of those things. Tonight, Senator Booker blew past Thurmond's record. He spoke until 8:04 p.m. for a total of 25 hours and 4 minutes.
Would the senator yield for a question?
Chuck Schumer, it's the only time in my life I can tell you no.
I just want to tell you a question. Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
That was the moment when he broke the record, but that was not the end. He then kept going. The whole time, Senator Booker was not allowed to sit down or use the bathroom. He did get help from his Democratic colleagues who took turns overnight and all through the day today asking Senator Booker questions. That still did not mean Senator Booker could sit down, but it did mean that for the time they were asking their questions, he could stop talking for the length of time it took them to pose a question to him, whereupon it was time for him to start talking again. At the start of his speech at 7 p.m. last night, Senator Booker referenced the late Congressman John Lewis, civil rights icon, a mentor to many Democratic lawmakers, including Senator Booker. Congressman John Lewis famously advised getting into what he called good trouble. Senator Booker began his stand by saying that's what he intended to do. He began by saying he would disrupt the normal business of the Senate for as long as he was physically able, because he sincerely believed the country was in crisis. Senator Booker started last night. He talked all night. He was still at it when we woke up today, delivering on his promise to disrupt the status quo any way he could.
It's enough for me. 12 hours now I'm standing, and I'm still going strong because this president is wrong. And he's violating principles that we hold dear and principles in this document that are so clear and plain. The powers of the Article 1 branch are spelled out, and he is violating them. A Congress that is being too complicit to an executive that is overstepping his authority and violating the Constitution and hurting people who rely on health care and Social Security. When is it going to be enough? My voice is inadequate. My efforts today are inadequate to stop what they're trying to do. But we, the people, are powerful. We are strong. God bless America. We need you now. God bless America. If you love her, if you love your neighbor, if you love this country, show your love. Stop them from doing what they're trying to do for almost 20 hours. We have laid out what they're trying to do. 20 hours. I want to stand more, and I will, but I'm begging people, don't let this be another normal day in America. Please, God, don't let them take Medicaid away from 10, 20, 30, or 40 million Americans who desperately need it. Don't let them do it. This is our moral moment. This is when the most precious ideas of our country are being tested, where the Constitution, and the question is being called, where does the Constitution live? On paper or in our hearts? It is time to heed the words of the man I began this whole thing with, John Lewis. I beg folks to take his example of his early days, where he made himself determined to show his love for his country at a time the country didn't love him, to love this country so much, to be such a patriot that he endured beatings savagely on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, at lunch counters, on freedom rides. He said he had to do something. We need that now from all Americans. This is a moral moment. It's not left or right, it's right or wrong. Let's get in good trouble. My friend, Madam President, I yield the floor.
Joining us now for his first TV interview since his record-breaking speech in the Senate. Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, the new record holder for the Senate's longest ever speech. Senator, how are you?
I'm definitely hurting a little bit, but I'm feeling strong in spirit and grateful to so many people who allowed me to tell their stories on the Senate floor and who were there for me, from the parliamentary staff to my colleagues. It was a long 25 hours, but I'm feeling a lot of gratitude.
Staying up 25 hours for any reason is a trying thing physically. What was different about the experience of it than what you anticipated? I mean, you stood by your fellow Senator Chris Murphy 9 years ago when he did 15 hours. He described that today as a solidarity or a sympathy filibuster, in that you stood with him during that time. So you've experienced some of the pain of this before, but A, you're 9 years older than you were then, and B, this was a lot longer. How was it different, and how much were you prepared for?
You know, I was grateful to Chris. He and I talked about it before, and I at the end tonight, I said, our balance sheet's not equal. I now owe you 10 more hours. I stood with him, and I really wanted to see if I could stand for as long as he and I were going to go. And he was successful that day in getting concessions from Mitch McConnell to have votes on the Senate floor around gun safety. Unfortunately, even common sense gun safety then failed. But for me, it was an experience that stuck in my mind. I could do 15 hours without going to the bathroom, even though my legs really hurt over those 15 hours. Both of us talked about how our feet hurt. And so when my team and I decided to do this, we just said, let's take some risks. Let's go out there and see how long we could last. And to be candid, Strom Thurmond's record always kind of just really irked me, that he would be the longest speech, that the longest speech on our great Senate floor was someone who was trying to stop people like me from being in the Senate. So to surpass that was something I didn't know if we could do, but it was something that was really, as we got closer, became more and more important to me.
You used that phrase, take risks. You said repeatedly over the course of this filibuster, this speech, that you're motivated to do this by your constituents essentially challenging you to come up with something, to do something more than you thought you comfortably could do. Can you tell us a little bit about the decision-making process that you went through about deciding to do this? Obviously, you kind of kept it under wraps. You prepared with your staff, but nobody publicly knew you were going to do this until you started it.
No, I do really credit constituents who are impatient, who are demanding, who are scared, who are angry, and very understandably taking that anger out on Democrats who have to take some responsibility for being where we are in American history right now. And so the more I thought about it with my team, especially after the decisions we made revolving around the continuing resolution, I've been working so hard with my colleagues, trying to get them to engage in social media, put more of their heart and spirit out there. They're doing an amazing job. They've almost quadrupled their numbers of engagement online. I've got colleagues opening up TikTok accounts, but I suddenly realized that I've just got to do something myself. I've got to, try to prove worthy for my constituents that I'm willing to step out and step up in some way, and hopefully be able to share their stories that were so hurtful, and to read from my staff, people rendering their most personal stories about their fears or what's happening to their families. And so my staff and I said, let's try to bring those voices to the Senate floor. Let's see how long you can last. They're demanding something different. This certainly will be different. And I think that a lot of that energy from the folks that I've been seeing in Jersey and across this country really helped carry me through.
I don't know if you are conscious of how much this caught the attention and caught the imagination of the American people. I know that you're not using electronic devices on the Senate floor. You're not watching your TikTok numbers and your YouTube numbers and the C-SPAN contemporaneous viewing numbers while you're there, because you can't be. But every time that I checked any form of media by which you could be live monitored, there were no less than tens of thousands of people watching in the same place that I was in that moment. What you've done with everything else that's going on with this administration and the horrific cuts of 10,000 people fired today from the nation's health agencies and all these other things. This is the biggest story in the country right now. You have captured people's attention for 25 hours. And I'm wondering, For people who were moved by what you did, either among your Senate colleagues or just people who watched you from home, what do you hope they might do differently if they're moved by you and they feel the same sort of spirit that caused you to do what you did?
Well, I hope that we're all served to be ignition points for each other. My constituents, the letters, the calls, the demands were definitely an ignition point for me, but we've got to continue to ignite this movement. The only thing that stopped Donald Trump from tearing away the Affordable Care Act was the engagement of tens of thousands of Americans who didn't think they would become little lobbyists or activists or come down to the Capitol or protest in their communities. You know, Rachel, you and I have known each other a long time, and I've been listening to your show more regularly. I'm so grateful that you're doing this first 100 days. And I love how you start every show by showing what other Americans are doing. They're not waiting for us in Congress to lead. They've decided to take matters into their own hands and do something different. Those people were demanding to me to catch up, to try to do like they're doing. This is really about folks leading from their hearts and deciding I'm not going to just let business as usual go on in my life. And so I'm hoping that this is one part of a larger effort that tries to stop them from doing what they're about to do later this week or next week. I have not, I've sort of stepped out, checked out for this 24 hours, but they're going to try to push through a bill that's going to gut $880 billion from Medicaid. They're going to try to put forward to a bill that's going to give tax cuts to the wealthiest in our country, disproportionately trillions of dollars, and all that, and they're going to still blow one of the biggest single president deficits into our national economy, into our national debt. It's outrageous. And we have got to try to stop them in the same way that the people of this country were able to get good conscience Republicans, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, John McCain, to change their votes and stop him from doing it. Well, we need to move 3 members in the House, I think, and 4 members in the Senate, and all of us have to be a part of that. We can't sit back and do nothing.
I'm listening to you and I hear you, but I'm also outside my body a little bit, marveling at your cogency right now. I know that, I don't know if you know that you are still making sense, but you're still making sense and your sentences are still properly structured, and it's starting to feel like a superhuman thing. I'm mindful of how much of your additional energy I'm taking right now. Am I right that you wear one of those rings that monitors your vitals?
I do. My staff was telling me we had to look at what it says. So I opened it up, and it gave me nothing on a sleep score because my heart rate was pretty damn high after about 4 or 5 hours, a little bit high. That's concerning. So there are definitely some physical things. I'm feeling it now, and it's the first time I ever did an interview with you where I got to sit down, and there's a man here I've known for years, and he's just, I almost kissed him when he gave me this seat to sit down. So I'm grateful.
Well, Senator, as I said, what you have done has captured the nation's attention, and I think captured the moral imagination of this nation in a way that you were really demanding with what you did. And so I don't know what the outcome's going to be. You never know what the outcome's going to be of these things. I do know that if you don't do it, nothing's going to happen. Exactly. And so I wish you rest, and I think you should get checked out by a doctor, and I think you should hydrate, and I hope you get people to leave you alone for the next few hours.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.